Out of every character I think was done unfaithfully in The Walking Dead, I think the most undermined one is Andrea. This is due to the fact that her comic counterpart had a completely different story and was a hardy survivor, while her show character was pretty annoying and had way too much screen time. But she wasn't always a bad character, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how her character had potential to live until the end, and exactly where and how it went wrong.
Anyway, right there, that's the walker that got Amy. Now you shoot that son of a bitch, shoot him!
We're introduced to Andrea in a very abrupt way after Rick lights up the entirety of downtown Atlanta, leading walkers all to their position. After Rick gets in the building with Glenn, he's suddenly grabbed by Andrea, pointing a gun in his face, saying stuff like, "You just got us killed." But for this moment, she's shown as strong, brave, and potentially the group leader. Also, the name Andrea means brave defender of men, which is very symbolic later in the series when she took Shane's side and wanted to leave Michonne to stay with the governor. And we're given more perspective on what role she plays after the roof incident. Yeah, we don't talk about the roof incident, but yeah, she definitely isn't the leader of the group. In fact, she was actually just acting like that because she has a sister back at camp that she was worried about. This conversation between her and Rick at the bottom of the apartment is really beautiful, and Andrea apologizes to Rick for pointing the gun in Rick's face, and Rick of course understands, saying, "Next time, take the safety off."
Next time, though, take the safety off. Won't shoot otherwise.
So Andrea was just kind of putting on an act, but her character doesn't really look like a fraud because she's doing it for a good reason. So that's Andrea's full introduction. She came off as pretty crazy at the start, but with a little more context, it's for good reasons, and it seemed like they were going to set up a really good character here. The rest of season 1 is to set up what Andrea's character was supposed to be. Unfortunately, there will be some external factors that do change the course of her character. Andrea reunites with her sister Amy, who is obviously the more naive younger sister. One of the significant problems at the camp is Carol's abusive husband, Ed, and Andrea is the first one to fully confront Ed. And this says a lot about her, that she's the first one to point out issues and confront them face to face. Also, probably one of the most boring Andrea scenes is the conversation she has with her sister. I'm not gonna lie, the conversation was supposed to be deep, talking about their father and how they're polar opposites, but it's really forgettable. This scene exists to show how close Andrea and Amy are and begs the question, what if Amy dies? Which coincidentally, Amy gets bit in the same episode and dies. And all of this pain is really just to set up Andrea's character arc where she learns to rely on herself, which we get a nice glimpse of when Rick tries to aid Andrea and then she pulls out her gun and mirrors what Rick said 3 episodes prior.
I know how the safety works.
This is where they also start making Andrea and Dale closer. Andrea was pretty depressed about what happened with Amy, so Dale just wanted to help out, but you could tell he's a little controlling, which is another challenge for Andrea because just when she thought she was in control of her decisions, she no longer has to rely on thinking about her sister to think and act. Dale gets in the way of making her make good decisions. That's why she ended up leaving the CDC instead of ending herself. Season 1 had the perfect setup for Andrea to be a great character. She was a brave woman protecting her sister, also having great values for the group. Once her sister dies, it gives her the full chance to become the best version of herself, and also challenges her emotionally with Dale, who is trying to be a father figure, so she won't let the world change her. But one major shift happened between Season 1 and Season 2. Frank Darabont, the person who casted Laurie Holden and wrote her character in Season 1, had gotten fired. Now it was up to Season 2 writers to continue her story and flesh out her character like Darabont had in mind. So did the new writers succeed with continuing Andrea's arc in Season 2? Kind of. In Season 2, Andrea doesn't play as large of a role as she did in Season 1, but when she was shown, it seemed like the writers wanted to do something major with her, which is why I think her character is a mixed bag in Season 2. One very apparent thing in this season is that the Dale and Andrea relationship was not working. It felt pretty awkward and controlling. So who in the group is a reflection of Andrea as the lone wolf? Shane. This is where the writers really take advantage of Andrea. After overhearing Shane talking about wanting to leave the group, she tells him that they should go together. The character dynamic between Shane and Andrea is exactly what the show needed. Andrea was the only one who saw that Shane was thinking miles ahead of the group. Also in this season, we're revealed another thing about Andrea's character, and it's that she has really good aim. I mean, the fact that she shot Daryl all the way from the RV is pretty impressive that she had no experience with a sniper. Her aim is so good that after the group does a gun training together, Shane does a private session for Andrea. I've always found this super funny because there was no conversation between the two to just do it. They just cut to a scene of them training. But I think the reason that Shane wanted to do a private session for Andrea was because he started to like Andrea, especially since tensions were rising at this time, and it seemed that Andrea was the only one that understood him. And Shane was low-key an asshole, I'm not gonna lie.
They're in the woods. They're in the RV. Gotta need more than a damn screwdriver.
Stop badgering me!
You're too damn emotional.
But it was all tough love because his advice actually helped her later on, and now the two were inseparable. Like, literally. And And after all of this, I actually thought Andrea would eventually be with Shane, especially since she started to ignore Dale fully and instead listen to Shane. Shane also admits to Andrea that he regrets not leaving with her when she asked him. So now they leave together and return randomly a few seasons later as a cool surprise, right? No. Instead, they kill off both Dale and Shane, the two characters that pretty much made her interesting, and separate her off with the group, where in season 3, the downfall begins. As soon as season 3 started, Andrea's decision-making skills were just completely obliterated out of the blue. Season 3 focuses on Rick versus the governor and Andrea? I have no idea what was going on in season 3, but for whatever reason, Andrea was just some annoying wife of the governor while the action happened. Obviously, I understand she saw what the governor had and what he was building, but it's completely out of character for her to ignore the heads and tanks, the arena battles, and not to listen to Michonne, the same person that saved her. And after Michonne left, there were multiple instances where Andrea called the governor crazy, yet it was just forgotten about the scene after. But Andrea reaches the point of no return, and her relationship with the governor becomes sexual. And there's a lot of back and forth between Andrea and the group here for the rest of the season, and I'm just gonna keep it really simple. Andrea wanted to live with the governor despite his craziness because the governor was allowing her to co-lead. Woodbury is attacked one night, but then she later finds out that the attack was from Rick and the group. So she goes to the prison and she learns more of Rick's perspective, and she kind of realizes that the governor has been lying to her. And this news is quite a shocker to her because she realizes that Michonne had been right all along about the governor and Woodbury. So she makes a plan to kill the governor in his sleep, which she doesn't end up doing. Andrea also ends up discovering the torture chamber the governor made for Michonne, and so she also this time sneaks over to the prison with Milton's help, but little did she know she was followed by the governor and she was brought back to the torture room. And since Milton helped Andrea leave, he is punished and ordered to kill Andrea, but he instead tries killing the governor and failed and was stabbed and turned and bit Andrea. And the group later arrived. She was still alive, but she was gonna die. But I really like this scene because she echoes the same words again from season 1.
I know how the safety works.
Now, I like how they did her actual death, to be honest, because she was in the room with Michonne and she repeated the same words from season 1, but they completely butchered her character in season 3 and she really shouldn't have died this season. It's also really sad considering how Laurie Holden says she was supposed to be on the show for 8 seasons, but at some point it just changed, and I'm assuming it's when they made her character pretty insufferable, which was season 3. And I'm sure it had something to do with the Frank Darabont stuff and just people overall saying that they didn't like Laurie Holden's acting, which I disagree with, but I could have totally seen Andrea living until season 8 and being the group sniper like Sasha was.